What's up everybody, welcome back to Xander. My name is Xander, and in today's video I am going to be starting out a new tutorial in which we're going to be creating this game in Unity, which I made for a Fiverr client a few months ago. So let's get started. First thing first, let me show you how it goes. You are basically the UFO. You can move around, I mean up and down. You can go up, you can go down. You can also shoot lasers and pop balloons. Every time you pop a balloon you earn helium. If you pop a blue balloon you get like 10 heliums, and if the helium gets to 0 then you lose. So yeah, let's start developing. The first thing we're going to do is create a new project, and here we are. So now the first thing we're going to be doing is creating an empty object, which is going to be our player, our UFO. Let's type in UFO, and let's add a sprite render. Here it is. And then also let's add a box collide. No, let's add a rigid body 2D. And now we're going to create in our scripts folder, which I created, we're going to add a C# script, which is going to be the character controller, which is what we are going to be covering up in this video. As our script is here, let's open it up. The first thing I'm going to be adding, since we're going to be making the buttons in the UI, the Unity UI, we must add the UI library. And let's .ui, there you go. So now let's reference our rigid body. Rigid. Which is, let's call it RB. There you go. Oops. And it's going to be private. Now in here we must reference our rigid body that we just added. So let's go ahead and type in get component, and type in rigid body 2D. And of course let's say that that RB is equal to this rigid body. This. There you go. So basically here we're calling out the body of our UFO so we can make it move. Now we're going to add a private vector 2, private vector 2, and let's call it movement. Now in our update void, we're going to, let's make this a fixed update, because fixed updates are faster than updates. We can say I haven't created these variables, but let reference here, and then we're gonna create it. If pressed up, which is a variable I'm going to create, pressed up equals true, then call something happens. I'm gonna put this right here, and if pressed down equals true, something happens. Now we're gonna call our method, function, a Unity function, which is, let me type in void on press up, which is a method, a Unity method, and then this variable becomes true. Put this in caps. And now also let's make, of course, this public so we can reference in our inspector. There you go. Now put OnReleaseUp, then press up equals false. And we can copy these and just paste it here. Do the same thing, but this time with down. So press down and OnRelease down, and this variable becomes
some methods, and I'm also missing the semicolons here.
Now we must create our variables that we referenced, because otherwise it wouldn't work. Of course, public bool. Well, it doesn't have to be public. Well, yeah, let's make it public so you can see it on the inspector. Public bool rest up equals false, so you can start as false, and rest down will also be false. Let's create the movement real quick here, and let's add a velocity, a speed. So we're gonna public float, which is going to be called speed. Let's say it will be 5f for the float. And yeah, so now let's delete this. So now we can say vector2, there we go, move input new, it's going to be the movement, it will be new vector2, and it will be 0 and 5. Let's go our variable vector2 movement, move input, normalized times our speed. We can modify our speed on our inspector later on in case it doesn't work. So now we must reference our rigid body so we can move it. So we can move it. Say movement, actually move position. Let's say RB dot position plus our movement plus time delta time with time fixed delta time. So if pressed up, it's basically saying that it's going to move the UFO up. Else, if it's not pressing any buttons, then nothing will happen. Otherwise, it would be pressed down. So let's say else, nothing happens. And now let's copy these, since it's exactly the same, but we wanted this time to move down. We just need to put this negative. Else, the same thing with the else, nothing happens. So now we can save this back in Unity. We can go ahead and real quick, so we can see something. Let's make it bigger. Let's create a canvas real quick. But first, let me fix these errors. This should be multiplying, not a sum. Oops. Now we should be good to go. Okay, so now here in Unity, again, let's add the button. It will automatically create the canvas. So now this will be our up button. Let's make it real quick. This bigger. Now we're going to add an event trigger. Event trigger. One will be pointer down and the other one pointer up. So now we must attach our UFO to the inspector here. And now if it says pointer down, it means that the button is going to be pressed, which means that OnPressUp, the button up is pressed, and pointer up means that the button is not pressed anymore, which means OnReleaseUp. So now we duplicate this button, best fit. We place it below the up button, and now we must change the event trigger. Pointer down, it means that the button down is being pressed, so on press down, and this one is OnRelease down. There you go. So now if we go ahead and click play, as you can see, this is our UFO. If we click up, it goes up. If we release, it stops moving. If we click down, it goes down. And yeah, so this was all for today's video. This was part 1 of this series. I'm gonna leave the script in the description, in case you want to check it out. So I really hope you enjoyed this video. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you guys in the next video.